Well, hey everybody, it's Sunday, the 28th day of June, 2026. I'm Jan Erickson, and this is As Above, So Below. Well, it is maiden moon today. Tomorrow we will have the full or mother phase on Monday, and Tuesday will be crone. I prefer crone. Let's go ahead and get a rune here from the rune bag, from the Elder Futhark. We have Ingus. Ingus can be drawn like this, or it can be drawn with two X's, but see in the center you've got the diamonds. So I find when I'm working with bind runes and things, I prefer this particular version of it over the double X one. But it's still the same way. It can be pronounced Inguas or Ingus. Ingus is a seed. It's the 22nd rune of the Elder Futhark, and when you think about the 22, that's the master number for the cosmic builder. So it's about manifestation, and so's Ingus. You think about the seed and the concentrated force, life force that enables it to then burst open and give rise to the plant, right, that follows. Same sort of thing with Ingus. It can be genetic inheritance, particularly if you're looking at the double X version of it. It's about the potential, the sudden release of energy, or the sudden release of ideas, or new opportunities for something to grow and flourish. Great garden bind rune. For a garden bind rune, I have it as the main aspect of it, and everything else sort of flows from it in my garden bind runes that I put around outside. It's inner focus. It's that point of singularity that expands ever outward. So in a sense, the whole idea of creation is Ingus. And so you might be thinking at this point, okay, what am I going to manifest this next week? What kind of ideas can I bring to fruition or to get started on? Either way. Let's see what the Geomancy runes say. This is air. This is fire. And this would be water. And this would be earth. And so we're looking at Laetitia. You've got Laetitia and Tristitia. They're the each end of the spectrum. Laetitia would be very positive. It's this is Laetitia. So you're looking at imagination and intuition. It portends good fortune. Basically, it can be about a teacher. It can be about an offering, the teacher offering or an instructor offering their knowledge to their students, basically, and the joy that happens when you do that, when you share your wisdom and your knowledge with other people. Can be about joy and health. But basically, you get the idea that whatever, even if you just look at this in terms of positivity, you pair it up with Ingus, and you're looking at some kind of manifestation that's going to be positive, it's going to be joyful, it's going to be something where you're using your imagination, and all that can flow from that concentrated focus of Ingus. So we'll start there and see where we go, see what the cards have to say. But so far, we're beginning on a very positive note for this next week about manifesting something using your imagination and positivity and all of that. We've been having a ton of wind here, anywhere from like 17 to 20 miles an hour steady for about, I don't know, gosh, last couple weeks, I think. Just every day, you can't get away from it. Which is sort of the way it is here, anyway. but sometimes, hopefully, you've got like times of the day where it's not doing that. So anyway, I've cut the deck, taken the lower half. I'm going to take 3 cards, but not so much this time. Well, let's see. We've got 2 cards from the Sun and the Moon from the Major Arcana. And then we have the 9 of Wands. Let's go ahead, though, and do the numerology. And so I said 22. I'm going to go ahead and just do that and not leave it separate. I'll do it both ways. Let's do it both ways. I don't like to include the master numbers 11, 22, and 33 in a... I just don't like to I don't like to do that. I like to leave them on their own. And so I said 9 plus the Sun is the Sun is 19, and the Moon is, I think, isn't the Moon 18? Yeah. So that's 68. 6 and 8 is 14. 1 and 4 is 5. So let's go ahead and do the 5 first. I'm going to put that down there. And let's do it over again, this time without the 22. So let's just go 9 plus 18 plus 19 is 46. So I'm going to put a comma here and do 22. And then, what did I say? 46. 6 and 4 is 10. 1 and 0 is 1. So, get that to work right. So we can either look at this, it's lower vibrational, 1 would be 5. But if you looked at 22 and 1, that's 23. 2 and 3 is 5, so you're still going to come out with the same thing. But if you don't do it that way, and you leave the 22 on its own, then you're looking at the cosmic builder. And so what are you going to manifest? And with the 1 being new beginnings, it's also about talent and leadership and unique qualities. It can be about the self. It can be your sun sign, if you will. It can be about that. But generally speaking, when I look at 1, I'm looking at new beginnings and how are you going to manifest those new beginnings? And so the idea that I think that's what with 5 you're going to be looking at change. And so again, how is that going to how is that change going to manifest? And again, through new beginnings, through some higher creative force that you implement, that you use with Ingus, to then bring that point, that idea, to that singularity, that singular moment that then expands outward into creation. And again, new beginnings, change. Let's just include all 3 numbers separately, I think. When we look at this, since we have 2 cards from the Major Arcana, the Sun and the Moon, let's take a look at, let me move all this stuff out of the way here. Since we're looking at 2 Major Arcana cards, the Sun and the Moon, let's go ahead and look at the influences they have, those higher vibratory energies. The Major Arcana is thought to be the soul archetypes. When the soul incarnates into form, that's the overall steps it goes through and things it experiences, with the minor arcana being the details of all of it. How is it going to play out on a day-to-day basis, basically? So let's talk first about the 9. 9 is about endings and completion. It's about generosity, spirituality. But the idea of endings, or I should say not endings and beginnings, endings with the 9, and then you've got new beginnings with the 1 numerology here. You have the man holding another staff. There's 8 more behind him, and it's behind this dual line here. And so this was one phase of what was going on, and now here he is. He's done. He looks a little wounded because he's got that bandage on his head. He's kind of looking around. I look at this, and it's kind of like glancing back kind of furtively, like, okay, what kind of support do I have? You know, and but in a sense, it's almost like you've got the end of one phase and the beginning of another. If you take the 9, and let me find a piece of paper here. We'll take the star. This is kind of an interesting way to think about this. Hopefully the ink will work. You've got a 1 and an X. Let's see, how is that going to show up? Yes, it is. Okay. Now, 1, of course, would be about new beginnings. I don't like that. I need to get something else. Looks like that thing's drying out. Here's 1 and X for 9. And with the 1, again, that's new beginnings. And then with the X, if you were to terminate the ends, you have to gauze, which is the end of one phase and the beginning of another. So it's just kind of an interesting way to kind of scope out the 9 in a Roman numeral type of a number for it. Anyway, so it just reinforces, I think, the idea that there's something new coming this next week, that you're going to take your ideas and your imagination and your intuition, all of that, and you're going to manifest something here that's a new beginning. So in a sense, you know, maybe you're kind of looking around to see, all right, what kind of support system do I have behind me for doing this, or am I going to be out on my own? You know, it could be the end of that one collaboration, which you could look at this that way, and now you've kind of had a battle of wits or something, maybe. But at the end of the day, it's over with, and it's time to do something else. And whether or not you include the collaborative effort be with you on this new project or new idea or new endeavor, you know, it's just up to you. However this works for you. The idea behind the moon, again, this is going to align well with the idea of intuition with Laetitia here, and also likely with Ingu's as well. Here you have a balance between dark and light, between the wolf and the dog. And so and then you see the crayfish coming up out of the water. The idea of the crayfish is one of the beings on this earth that shed their skin, along with, you know, snakes and lizards and things like that. They shed their skin. And it's that idea of transformation and renewal and rebirth with them. The moon's looking down at the canines and not particularly happy that they're being noisy. But you see that winding path up from the water all the way to the mountains. You see the 2 towers in between. Again, another issue of balance here, expression of that. And you're looking at, with the moon, you're looking at, again, rebirth, transformation, cycles, awakening, intuition, also illusion, self-deception. It could be change, any error that might be in your thinking or what have you. Maybe you're reevaluating from the last experience how you want to proceed forward in the new one, taking with you the ideas that are going to help you, and learning from mistakes and things like that. That could also be included in the moon card. And so the idea then, if and also the part about self-deception, whenever I pull the moon, that's the illusion, and self-deception is always right there, I think, for me anyway. It's the one thing that comes to mind. I say, okay, I need to have I have to have a different balance. I may be deceiving myself, or there may be some deception from others or something that I need to work through and deal with as I plan my next steps, essentially. And so that could be part of that as well. Again, with 18, with the moon, you're looking, 1 and 8 is 9. And so there's another 9 here. So you've got 2 9s right here, and then this reducing to 9. I think that again, it really sets the tone, or creates the idea that you really do have an ending of some kind, and now you're moving forward with maybe some awakening and enlightenment. You're going to follow a new path forward, and you can see it going up into the mountains there. So it could be some challenges along the way, but that's okay. You're ready. You've been able to survive this, and so the strength that you've gotten from this, maybe these were just a bunch of new, maybe instead of people and collaboration, it could have been opportunities that you managed to work through and survive and in a sense thrive from, that prepared you for this new path forward. You might even look at it that way, although typically I don't. But when you have the cards together, sometimes you have to pull things out of one card that really tells the story, in its order, essentially. And so, after thinking about things here, you're ready to move forward in a more balanced and enlightened way, maybe you could say, with the moon. And then at the end of the line here, you've got 19. 9 and 1 is 10. 1 and 0 is 1. And so you have the victory and the new beginnings here. So it reinforces the idea that this new endeavor this next week could become quite successful. And it doesn't have to necessarily be wealth. I mean, it can be, but it could be something that then gives you another stepping stone to something else. And so whatever this is going to start this next week for you, it could be very successful for you. You get that idea of awakening and the light returning and happiness and fulfillment as well. With the sun, you see the sunflowers behind the masonry wall there. You see the child on the white horse. That's newness and purity. You see the red flag waving in the breeze, and what you're looking at there is success and victory, and the large sun up above. Its rays coming down onto you and bringing you enlightenment and awakening and illumination. So all that you've learned essentially has brought you to this point where now you can set off on another path with another endeavor, that you bring everything that you know to that moment, and that becomes that singularity that then expands into reality for you and into manifestation here. And again, it gives you an idea. I think these two cards really are in sync with one another, kind of telling you the same thing. In a sense, what he's doing here is doing some awakening and reevaluating here. That it's just time to get your ducks in a row, essentially, and understand the issues you had and how you resolve them, and how you might apply that to new things that are coming down the road for you. So I think that's it. I don't think we need another card. I just think that this is one of those readings where I don't think that there's anything really cautionary at all, other than maybe don't just jump into something without remembering all the things you learned from the past experience you have, and use that to help guide you forward into the new one. So there's a connection there, even though there's the idea of endings with both 9 cards, and I'm just going to call the moon ultimately a 9 card. Endings and completion, basically, and not we're not at the new beginnings yet, until we really fully get into this card. And it's just showing that take what you learn. It's very similar to the Fool as it takes its leap into form. He's got the knapsack over his shoulder. Well, in the satchel, or because it looks more like a little satchel, but usually it would be the cloth that you would tie all your things together up and then tie it onto the branch or stick or whatever you have, right? But it actually looks more like a little satchel, where all of the things that you want to bring into this life, they're going to help you with whatever goals you've set for yourself here. whatever experiences you want to have. You're not coming into the life without anything. In a sense, it's your tools. And then you go then to the magician, and then you see the tools on his table, which are also corresponding to the elements and to the four suits of the tarot. And those really are your tools that you take with you. Well, the same sort of thing is here as well. What did he learn by this, whatever this is describing? If it was a conflict, what did you learn from the conflict? If it was a bunch of opportunities that you were dealing with, and different projects you were dealing, what did you learn from them? Obviously there were some issues, because you see the bandage there on his head. But at the same time, challenges can strengthen us as well as weaken us. And so I think finding that balance with the moon is key. And then in the end of the day, I think that the sun is portending good fortune, however you want to look at that, when all is said and done. So anyhow, I think that's it. Thanks for watching, and have a wonderful 4th. If you celebrate, we just sit outside and see what our neighbors are doing, but and sometimes we can see what happens in town a little bit. We can't see the whole thing unless we drive into town, and we don't want to do that. And so we just sit out on the property and watch and see who's shooting off fireworks and stuff. Whether they're supposed to be or not, I don't know. But anyway, it's nice to just do that. And a couple of years back, it was so bad that that there was so much sulfur in the air. That's never happened before, and it was like you were in a war zone. Everything was going off around us everywhere, and it must have been a really expensive thing to do to have all that going up. But the smell was just horrid, and I felt so sorry for the horses. A lot of the horses have to be. I have a neighbor that takes his horses away because it's just too traumatic for them. So protect your animals, and make sure that they're okay. I had one dog that literally broke up my front door getting out so he could go across another property and hide over in the trees. And he's just sitting there looking back at the house, and I couldn't be mad at him, for doing that. I had to get a new door. Seriously, I had to get a new door because he totally broke the door. And his name was Fred, and poor Freddie, he eventually comes home. He's gone now, but he would eventually come home, but he'd just be shaking just horribly. So we'd take him in bed and we'd hold him, and try to settle him down, but poor thing, so this is a difficult time, but it's still cool to see the fireworks. So I don't know, just take care of your babies and, be there with them, and, have fun. In spite of all of the noise and explosions that are around everywhere. So anyway, enjoy the full moon, and come back again on Sunday for another edition of As Above, So Below. Be good to yourself, be good to one another, and blessed be.